Welcome to the Lee County Zoning Board of Appeals, Thursday, February 6th, 2025, and we're calling the meeting to order. First part of the business is call the roll.
Bruce Forrester,
Here.
Craig Burrow,
Here.
Luke Phelan,
Here.
Tim Crawford,
Here.
Nate Hummel, not present.
Okay. Second thing on the agenda is the approval of the previous minutes, transcripts for the January 2nd, 2025 hearing and petitions number 24-P-1634 and 24-P-1635. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
I'll second them.
And we have a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next thing on the agenda is pursuant to the adjourn pursuant to the county board's vote on petitions numbers 24-P-1634. I never can say this name. Karen,
Karuntzos,
okay. An auto repair, special use permit for auto repair. And so do we have a motion to adjourn that meeting?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next thing on the agenda is old business. Old business petition number 24-P-1632 by Jeffrey A. Lewis as owner of PIN number 07-02-17-252-015, commonly known as 763 Forest Park Drive, Dixon, in Dixon Township, Lee County, Illinois, which is zoned R2 Single Family Residential District, filed a petition for a variance with the Lee County Zoning Office, requesting it to be granted a variance from Title 10, Chapter 9, Section 3, Bulk Regulations, specifically side and rear yard setback for the purpose of adding on to an existing accessory building. The parcel is approximately 0.92 acres in size. Is the petitioner present? Okay.
Jeff, if you want to come on up?
Do I have?
Slips.
There you go. And before you sit down, we have to swear you in.
Okay.
And she will be bringing me the certificates here in a second. You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth?
I do.
Okay. Sign your name, print your name. Then pull up the microphone and state your name.
Jeffrey A. Lewis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so a little background on this. Mr. Lewis came to my office last fall about building onto an existing building on his property. Given the setbacks that are required by the code, he would not have been able to meet them with the addition. So we looked at the parcel, we looked at what is going on with the parcel that is preventing him from building anywhere else. So when we evaluated the parcel, Jonathan's working to pull it up here in a minute. What we found out is that a portion of the property is currently located in a floodway. While building in a floodway can be done, it is kind of an extensive process. I had asked our certified floodplain manager, Laura Mangrum, to weigh in on this discussion. She was not able to be here tonight. But according to her knowledge as a certified floodplain manager, she said to build in a floodway, the applicant has to submit a state permit with plans for the development for approval before local permitting can take place. According to 44 CFR 60.3, projects located in FEMA floodways must either complete a no-rise certificate, complete with a hydraulic report to demonstrate no rise in the BFE, base flood elevation, or go through the conditional letter of map revision process. And at this time, with IDNR, this map revision process can take upwards of a year. The H&H study, which is a hydraulic and hydrologic study, which is how he would obtain a no-rise certificate, can run upwards of $10,000. So 763, sorry. So in your packets, your exhibit packets, I've included some photos of the property. This first photo here is taken from the FEMA website. It's the FEMA firm map. And this is a zoomed in of his parcel. So this drop is not where his house sits. If you look at where the driveways are, it sits more over here. So with this information, this hash mark area is what is considered floodway. So we had worked with Mr. Lewis to make sure that his structures were not in the floodway, and he was able to prove that the floodway starts just past his house. And so pretty much we are looking at an area east of his home and garage that has significant challenges to build on. The other issue we're running into is that located between the house and the garage is his septic, and so we have to steer clear of that as well. When you look at the original plat of the property, of the subdivision, it does show drainage easements around the edge of the property, further limiting where we can place a structure. Given this situation that we have here, we did look to the code as far as what would be allowed for a variance. So under our code, when a property owner shows that a strict application of the terms of this title relating to bulk regulations imposes upon him practical difficulties or particular hardship, then the Board of Appeals may, in the following instances only, make such variation of the strict application of the terms of this title as are in harmony with its general purpose and intent when the Board of Appeals is satisfied, based upon the evidence heard before it, that a granting of such variation will not merely serve as a convenience to the applicant, but is necessary to alleviate some demonstrable hardship so great as to warrant a variation. Our code further goes on to give 5 situations in which a variation can be considered. If you should have a copy of this in your packet. If you look to letter C, it is to create a variation by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific lot, or by reason of exceptional topographical conditions when the strict application of any provision of this title would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or particular hardship upon the owner of such property, provided such relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without substantially impairing the general purposes and intent of the comprehensive plan as established by the regulations and provisions contained in this title. So with Jeff's property having this large area of a floodway, that is considered a topographical condition. He additionally has some sloping, am I correct, going down the back side of the house
Towards the river.
towards the river. So those are the reasons why we feel that there is an exceptional topographical condition related to this property. I think that's about all I have at this time. You'll want to ask him some questions. What are you looking for?
Okay. You want to start?
So roughly how far is your property line from the river?
I have never measured it, but it's got to be probably 200 feet at least. I'm assuming we're referring to the frontage property line right along.
Well, wherever's closest to the river.
My property goes all the way to the river.
Okay.
Craig, which? Are you talking about the distance from here to here?
No, the back end, whatever the closest area to the river is.
That is the river.
The river, right, yeah, that's what I thought.
And that looks like his boat ramp.
Yeah. Yeah. Very fond of that.
Good.
Also, within your packet is the finding of fact. On the front page has your typical finding of fact that you're used to seeing during a special use hearing. The state statute for variance does require a finding of fact. And on the second page, I have added supplemental findings specific to the code. These questions here might help you with your cross-examination of what to determine if he meets the code or not.
Okay. First of all, what would you like to do there?
I would like to put some sort of protective structure over personal assets, whether it's a boat, a trailer, a car, a vehicle. It could be either a lean-to roof or it could be an enclosed, whatever the board would allow me to do to protect my assets is what I'd like to do.
And where would you like to put it?
I would like to put it directly attached to the garage, or it doesn't even have to be attached. I can do a floating substructure roof just to the east of the garage. So
Can you,
I'm sorry for that.
You got to kind of swallow.
Yeah, there's a series of boat docks in between the garage and where I want to build the garage, So the garage that's there and the boat docks, roughly where Alice has her hand, it'd be where the structure would go.
Where's your property line at then?
Yeah,
what's the distance between the property line and the garage?
it varies.
Is that an angle?
Yeah. So right now, between the actual existing garage and the property line is 11 feet, 10 inches and the back
The narrowest.
at the narrowest.
And how wide, what did you want to build or what size?
It'd be 12 foot wide, the full length of the garage.
Then you'd be going on the neighbor's property.
Yeah, right on it. Actually, I can probably simplify this with a brief discussion. So in April of last year, I approached the adjacent property owner personally and said, I'd like to build a concrete pad for my boat and or equipment trailer. How big would you want to build it was his reply. I said, I'd like to do 12-foot, full length of the garage. At the time, he didn't have a problem with it. He said, there's about 14 feet in between my property line and his property line. So between the garage, he said, you got 2 feet leeway, you should be good to go, go ahead. So at that time, I had the full blessing to do the concrete pad. Procured a contractor, pad's done, gained full use of the pad. 2 days later, had a $120,000+ boat destroyed by a tree that came down on the adjacent property. Since then, I've also had 2 trucks sustain significant damage due to lack of vegetation management on the adjacent property. Now, when I poured my pad, to be transparent, the very back of the pad, 2 5/8 inches wide for 14 inches, encroaches onto the adjacent property. This will have to be cut regardless. And I have procured a contractor to do that. He has to wait because he's using a wet saw to do it until the weather allows. So as of now, that is the only encroachment on the property. The only reason I'm asking to build this structure, and it wasn't the intended plan, is after the boat was destroyed, between the boat and the trucks, I've incurred almost $20,000 in personal losses to property. I asked Mr. Reuter if I could build a structure, to which he did not agree, which is why we're here where we are today. I'd like to mention that I've done the vegetation management on this property for 7 years. Picked up every stick, mowed it, seeded it, planted it, raked it, picked up several trees, did all the debris cleanup from the tree that smashed my boat myself, completely. All I'm asking to do is build something so I can keep from having my property destroyed. I've tried approaching Mr. Reuter about the condition of these trees, specifically this one here, which damaged the 2 trucks. I offered all my equipment, my dump trailer, my skid loader, and my time. I said, I will help you take this thing down or trim it. All I ask is you get a group of volunteers to help us. It's an awful big job for me and him. I got no reply. So he won't do it. So I have to take some sort of matter into my own hands to protect my own property. I can't keep sustaining thousands of dollars worth of damage every year.
How far is that tree from your property line?
It's about 7.5 feet, 8.
That's one up by the road.
Correct. It's a locust. Not a real hardy tree. If you'd like to see the damages, this boat was $127,000, completely destroyed, 30 hours on it. $12,500 in deductibles. There's the tree that fell on it.
If anyone in the back wants to come up and view the exhibits, please feel free to come up and do so.
Now, myself and the Reuter family, we did attempt to make an agreement to exchange a piece of property so that we would basically have a little bit more of a buffer between where that property line is. In other words, I would give some, he would give some. That effort fell short when they demanded that the property be exchanged prior to the variance being approved. Well, the variance was the point. There's no point in exchanging property if I can't get a variance. I'll just cut my concrete. The encroachment's eliminated.
So you've, in the picture, you've had this line surveyed then that's.
I did. And I'd like to mention that I've been transparent with the Reuters the entire time. I haven't tried to hide any information, personal discussions, and done quite a bit of my negotiation with what I believe is their eldest son, Mitch. So if he'd like to add anything, I'm more than happy to hear what he's got to say. But again, I'd like to reinforce, regardless of what happens, that encroachment will be removed as soon as weather permits on my end.
And further, my office would not be able to issue any building permit for any structure that is crossing over the property line. So should the county grant this variance, he will have to remove that encroachment before my office would be able to issue a building permit if a variance is granted.
And the encroachment you're talking about, just those couple inches of cement?
Correct.
That cross the property line.
Does that include any overhang on the roof too? Okay.
Well, how long is your garage then?
Roughly 40 feet.
And then you poured this pad in 2024?
I did. Actually, I didn't. Dempsey Contracting did it.
Also, with regard to that foundation, a permit was not obtained for my office. We found out about the foundation having been poured after the variation was filed. So just for clarity.
Okay.
But I did stop up to ask for permission to pour the pad before anything was done. I just want to make that clear. Nothing I haven't done. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm trying to go by the books here. I don't want to break any laws. And it certainly was never my intent to razz any neighbors.
Any more questions?
If there are no questions from the board, we can open it to the public.
We can open it to the public.
So as Mr. Lewis is under oath, the public does have an opportunity to cross-examine him. This is a time to ask questions only. This is not a time to debate or argue between the two of you. So just keep that in mind. And whoever wants to go first, the microphone is set up at the podium.
Hello, everyone. Courtney Kennedy. I'm an attorney here out of Dixon. I represent Steve and Tamara Reuter. They are the neighbors immediately adjacent to this property. Mr. Lewis, do you have any estimates from any contractors to construct your addition on other portions of your property?
No, I don't. Based on the discussions with Mrs. Henkel, I really had no other options to build.
But we don't know that for certain because we don't have estimates. Is that a fair statement?
Well, the estimates have nothing to do with the ability to construct a building. That's all up to the zoning department to give me permission to do that.
Sure, but if you're saying that it's more costly to build it in a certain area of your property, wouldn't it make sense to have an estimate so we know that cost?
I never mentioned anything about cost.
Your land falls within the Forest Park subdivision number 4, is that correct?
I do not know that. It is in the Forest Park subdivision.
Would it surprise you to learn that there's certain restrictive covenants that go with your property as part of that subdivision?
I've never seen them, but it wouldn't surprise me now.
I'm going to read from one of those restrictive covenants. The building setback lines as provided on each and every lot shall not be violated by the construction of any building of any kind, but may be used only for driveways, shrubbery, trees, or ornamental fence not to exceed 6 feet in height. Were you aware of that restrictive covenant?
It was not. What does that covenant say about storage of non-motorized vehicles? Random through lots?
I'm not certain. That's not pending before the zoning board of appeals. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Anyone else?
If there are no further questions of Mr. Lewis, he can be excused from as a witness, and you can proceed with taking public comment.
Okay.
Should I collect these or would you guys like to keep them for the comments?
We should keep them
Okay.
for our file.
So public comment can be made by anyone present. This is your time to speak your mind, your feelings, your opinion. It is your time to say whatever you want with regard to this petition.
And I'll make a public comment on behalf of the Rooters. As you guys heard, Alice Hinkle read the relevant portions of the code as it pertains to you granting or the county board granting a variance request. I just want to reiterate that portion. To create a variation by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific lot, or by reason of exceptional topography conditions when the strict application of any provisions of this title would result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or particular hardship upon the owner of any such property, provided that such relief can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without substantially impairing the general purposes and intent of the comprehensive plan as established by the regulations and provisions contained in this title. Illinois case law is pretty clear on variations, that it should be reserved for situations where a property owner is genuinely unable to utilize their land in accordance with the zoning laws due to certain unique circumstances. In this case, it is our position that Mr. Lewis has not demonstrated that the topography presents an unbearable burden that prevents the reasonable use of his property. Does the topography present a challenge to Mr. Lewis? Sure. But it is not an insurmountable obstacle that would warrant a deviation from the established zoning regulations. His argument hinges on convenience. It would be easier to build it here rather than where he would like to build it. This is not showing genuine hardship. There are other areas on his land to which he can build. He is not prevented from constructing an addition on his land. Based on the evidence and testimony presented tonight, it is reasonable to conclude that the claimed hardship is more of a matter of convenience. In addition to being born purely out of convenience rather than necessity, his request, if granted, is not in harmony with his neighbors, nor the other provisions of the code. And it is our position that it will actually be detrimental to his neighbors. He has a high disregard for his neighbors. You don't have to look any further than the blatant disregard for obtaining a building permit prior to pouring concrete and the resulting encroachment on their land, or the fact that his current building plan violates the restrictive covenants of his subdivision, which I would also argue constitutes a substantial detriment to his neighbors and the subdivision at large. Zoning laws are designed to promote consistency and harmony within communities, and allows for exceptions based on convenience undermines this foundational principle. This risks further disruption to the character of the area. It is crucial to maintain the integrity of the zoning regulations, which are in place to protect both individual property rights and the well-being of the community as a whole. By recommending the denial of his variance request to the Lee County Board, you are upholding the mission statement of the zoning office. And I'd like to take a minute to read that, and I'll leave you with that. The mission of the Lee County Zoning and Planning Office is to promote the thoughtful and responsible land use that preserves the character, safety, and quality of life of our communities. We are dedicated to ensuring compliance with the zoning regulations while fostering sustainable growth and providing clear, consistent guidance to property owners, businesses, and developers. Through collaboration, transparency, and a commitment to service excellence, we aim to support vibrant communities, balanced residential growth, and thoughtful commercial and industrial development through careful planning and environmental stewardship. It is our position that does not conform with the code. It does not constitute a hardship, and it does not comply with the mission statement of the Lee County Zoning Office. We would respectfully request that you recommend denial of Mr. Lewis's variance request.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Rex Meyer. I'm a private citizen in Lee County, but I would ask you to deny this request for a variance.
Anyone else?
Before you proceed with your findings, with regards to covenants, the county, it's not my job to enforce covenants. Covenants would be enforced by a homeowners association. And in the absence of a homeowners association, they can individually or come together to address a violation of the covenants through a civil action with the court.
Okay.
Alice, since we're talking about the variation here in the property line, what's the standard setback for the county then? 7 feet or?
This property is zoned R2, so side and rear setbacks for R2 is 7 feet.
You ready to start the findings of fact? You guess. Okay. On the effect of the proposed use upon the character of the neighborhood. Any thoughts on that one?
It's all residential area. And the activities that he's doing, I guess, are common in that area.
You have a thought?
Let me write that down.
Hmm?
None.
And make a motion to that effect.
I move there are no effects of the proposed use upon the character of the neighborhood.
Do we have a second to that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that?
No.
No. Hearing none? All in favor of, read it, there's no effect on the
Of the use for the neighborhood.
character of the neighborhood. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The effect of the proposed use upon traffic conditions.
I don't
Doesn't
think this
really change the
applies.
traffic.
What's that?
Doesn't really change any of the.
No.
traffic.
There's no change in the traffic, so can we have a motion?
I moved it. We mentioned that there's no change in the traffic due to this petition.
We have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next is the effects of proposed use upon public utility facilities.
Just a reminder, when you guys answer, can you please speak into the mic? I'm not sure people in the back can hear.
I wasn't loud enough?
We're fine.
Okay. The effect of the proposed use upon the public utility facilities.
Where are the utilities?
What's that?
Where are the utilities on the property? And there's no overhead power lines, is there?
Well,
No
Neil,
city sewer.
Yeah.
No city sewer.
No.
His proposed plan probably is not going to increase any usage of any of the public facilities, I would doubt.
I move that there's no effect of the proposed use upon public utility facilities.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that one? Hearing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The next is the effect of the proposed use upon public health, public safety, and/or general welfare.
I can't see any effect on of building the storage facility of having an effect on the health, safety, or welfare.
I agree.
Can we put that in the form of a motion?
I so move.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now we get into the tougher issues. The effects of the proposed use on the surrounding properties.
It does affect the neighboring property.
It affects the neighboring property by being right on the line. and being something new that someone has to look at.
Is that a motion?
What's that?
Is that gonna be the motion?
I can't make a motion.
I know. I'll put in a motion that it does affect the neighboring property with the visibility and close to the property line.
Do we have a second to that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Is there any other effects for the surrounding properties? If not, we'll move on. Number 6, the effects of proposed use upon environmental concerns.
This facility apparently won't have any utilities or work done in just being storage. There shouldn't be any effect on the environment.
Well, and it isn't in the floodplain, which is a little further behind. So. You're making a motion.
I make that motion.
What are you saying in that motion?
Doesn't appear to have any environmental concerns since it's just a simple storage facility.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on that one? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Motion carries. Number 7 is requiring the petitioner to comply with the required 7-foot setback impose difficulties or particular hardship upon the petitioner.
I move that it does. Am I correct in that?
Since there's no other place to build.
Do we have a second on that one?
Second.
I guess in discussion of that one, we have a motion and a second, but in discussion of that one, I know that there are places that you can store boats and put them other places, so I don't know whether it's a real hardship or an inconvenience. How's that?
One point that we didn't ask about whether there was a possibility of building behind that current garage before the floodplain. How big that area was, that was suitable.
So would you like me to move to rescind that former motion?
I'm just putting that out for discussion.
Based on the discussion, I move that we rescind the former motion.
Okay,
Did I have the second?
What's
I
that?
had the second. I need to rescind my second.
You
I
rescind your
rescind
second?
it, yes.
Okay. So do we have any kind of a new motion?
You did not use the term hardship, did you?
What's that?
You didn't use the term hardship, did you? What was your
No, he just said there's other options.
option? Well, yeah, but
Store your stuff.
Right. It's not necessarily a hardship. It's a convenience.
convenience, that's what I'm
Put that in the form of a motion.
saying. Well, the answer, I guess, would be that there are other options available that just aren't as convenient as the one offered tonight.
So do we have a new motion?
Yes, I'd move that there are other options, but they are not as convenient.
That'll be number 9.
Oh,
Okay. We're okay. Do we have a second to that motion, meaning there are other options, just not necessarily as convenient?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Number 8 is granting of the requested variation in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance.
It's going through Article B as you read through it.
What's that?
And that's reading through Article B. to make
I believe she pointed, Alice did, to section C.
sections here, letter C. So with letter C, it discusses about the hardship again. And we already said that there is no hardships on this.
well, the question is, I think further down that paragraph, providing relief could be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. So that's a question.
Yeah.
Correct.
And this probably, the situation, as I'm thinking, would reflect in the value of the real estate, in that the bigger the lot, the more valuable it is. In this case, you're limited in the size of how much room you've got to build on that. And in general, the bigger the acreage, the more the lot's worth, based on situations like this where you want to build more buildings.
I'll put in a motion that Article B variations, letter C. We already discussed that this isn't due to hardship. And this is without substantial impairing to the general purpose and the intent of the comprehensive plan. We already answered, I think, that in the previous one, so. I would say this is not in harmony with the general purpose and the intent of the zoning ordinance.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Craig seconds it. Is there any further discussion on this one?
And I think we're based it on that situation, is that the size of the lot just isn't large enough to do that much building.
That's not this
I know,
petition.
but that's why he needs some variations. He's trying to use the whole lot.
If they can figure out how to do it a different way, that's a different situation. So, any further discussion? Read back your motion.
This is not in harmony with the general purpose and the intent of the zoning ordinance.
Okay. There's no other discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next one is, will granting of such a variation merely serve as a convenience to the petitioner?
I think that's probably definitely true. It's definitely true.
Okay, so are you gonna make a motion?
I move that this would serve as a convenience to the petitioner.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
and we have a second to that motion. Is there any further discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next one is there a demonstrable hardship so great as to warrant a variation?
I move there is none.
We have a second on that one.
Second.
Craig seconds. Is there any further discussion on that one? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, are there exceptional topographical conditions that result in peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or particular hardships?
So with the, I'm assuming the topographical would refer to the floodplain probably.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, it was.
I would move that there are exceptional topographical conditions that result in a peculiar and exceptional practical difficulty or peculiar hardship.
I second it.
Okay, is there any discussion on that? I guess my only discussion on that was those topographical conditions and peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties were there when the property was purchased and they knew about them. But we'll move forward. Are any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 12, will the granting of the requested variation cause substantial detriment to the public good?
I don't think so. No, it will not cause substantial detriment to the public good. Is my motion.
We have a second on that?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 13, will the granting of the requested variation substantially impair the general purposes and intent of the comprehensive plan as established by the regulations, provisions contained in the Lee County zoning ordinance?
Alice,
Yes.
is it appropriate to ask your opinion during this time?
I don't know. Let me check with Stephanie.
I didn't know what the rules were on that.
Be right back.
It's a good question.
Hmm.
Good question. I'm with you, yeah. Have you done that before, Bruce?
Hmm?
Have you done that before? Where you say we have no recommendation for that? So. Or you have to answer? You have to answer.
This is the first.
So in talking with Stephanie, I am not going to weigh in at this time. I will present you with the Lee County, Illinois Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map for you to confer with. property is up here where this blue tab is.
That's residential zoning.
No, it's county.
There's the key.
No, okay.
Um, kind of hard to see, but right up here, you can, if you look closely, you can kind of see where the roads are. It is right
Hmm.
here in this area that has hash marks and the green color.
Good.
It's the green.
I think.
So it's recreation and environmental and. Yeah. Yeah. So it's floodplain river.
Good.
After seeing that, I move that the granting of the requested variation will not substantially impair the general purposes and intent of the comprehensive plan as established by the regulations and provisions contained in Lee County zoning ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Okay. Is there any further discussion on that one?
No.
Okay, so hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next. Need to make a recommendation to the full board at this time.
One condition, I put this in the form of the motion, right? Or do we make the conditions and then we approve to vote and deny pending those conditions? Do I have to make this in the form of motion? I forget.
So you would go ahead and make your recommendation to approve or deny under a motion. And then you would also move for conditions that would apply.
to our
Good.
vote. Okay.
Everybody ready? A motion to approve or deny?
Go ahead.
Luke, you started it.
Guess it's mine. I move we approve the petition for special variance or to create a variation.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
What's that?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Aye.
Aye.
Now what do we do? We're tied.
It's my understanding that that will go forward to the board with a recommendation to deny, as it was a tie. However, you still need to consider conditions.
Okay,
County board has the final say. If they were to not go with your recommendation, and grant the variance, there should be conditions, should be noted if you feel they are necessary.
okay.
One condition I would suggest is how close to the property line he would be able to go if the variation was granted.
You have any suggestions?
So the question is how close to the property line?
Yes. When you're looking at that,
Well, I mean, I don't think we should take a judgment because there's concrete already there.
right?
I think the judgment call should be how far we think away, how far away from the property line it should be. So I don't think it should be directly on the property line.
Talk about a building. No.
Well, concrete's already there, overhang and everything else, but that's irrelevant to our decision here, so.
One foot.
1 foot, that's kind of what I was thinking.
All right. You want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion on the conditions that the building structure has to be 1 foot away from the property line.
We're going to vote on each condition as we go. So is there any further discussion on that?
Was that seconded?
You second?
I did, all right, yeah.
Right.
No further discussion.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of that condition that the building be 1 foot off of the property line? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Any other conditions?
I think he probably should cut that cement off at the property line. I think he mentioned he would.
What's that?
I think he should cut that cement off at the property line and not overhang. I think he mentioned it.
Right,
gonna do
that
it,
they
so-
would do that.
Yeah,
So
cut the
you
concrete,
can say that.
cut the concrete at the property line.
Or does the concrete need
I
to
was
be
gonna say,
back
yeah.
1 foot?
Yeah, I think the concrete,
Needs to be cut back 1 foot from the property line.
It's up to you.
because.
Then that would be covered in what we just,
That's what I said, yeah.
we just placed. I would move that the petitioner must still adhere to any covenants that are placed on his property through an outside means or organization. I don't know what that really is, to tell you the truth. It's not a homeowners association, but yeah,
Well, it's the board of the association, if there is
Yeah.
one.
So state that again.
I move that the property owner must still adhere to any covenants that are placed on his property outside of the Lee County Zoning Board.
Oh, the ones that came with the property?
Yes.
Okay,
The covenants and restrictions.
Any covenants or restrictions that are existing currently must be adhered to
if the variance passes.
if the variance passes, yes.
Okay,
That would be in direct conflict.
Well, they may have rules that supersede county zoning rules, correct?
They are allowed to be more restrictive
Yes,
and they are responsible for enforcement.
correct. So just like pointing out that our recommendation doesn't overstep any other barriers he might have to this.
Okay,
Do you think that's just,
so I guess the issue I'm having, and maybe you can clarify, is that Ms. Kennedy presented evidence tonight regarding the covenants and that the covenants restrict, basically do not allow for a variance. So if this was granted, it would be in conflict with the covenants.
You're saying anything else outside of this needs to follow all covenants and restrictions within the subdivision.
yes,
With exception to the setback issue. Okay, thank you.
I'll second that.
okay. So we have a motion and a second that the petitioner has to follow all rules of this, of the covenants of the subdivision, except the variance if it's approved.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Anything else? Hearing none. I'd say we're closed on this petition.
And it will be heard when.
And it will be heard on March 6th at 6 PM.
County board?
County board will take place this month on the 20th, I believe.
Zoning board is next month at 6th. Okay. That's right.
County board.
Yes, so this petition will go to the Lee County Board this month. I believe it is the 20th
The 20th.
at 6 PM.
Okay.
Could we take a brief recess
Yes.
before we start the next one?
Yes.
How many minutes?
Be back here at 7:30, which is 12 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Sign
I need to sign this.
I will type it out for you to.
Okay, that's fine.
It actually did. He's actually shot.
Speaking to the mic.
Which one we doing?
This will be the Kastner.
Oh.
Okay,
We just say no and just move on.
That's fast.
That's as easy.
After you sat here this long.
okay. Are we ready? The next petition of the evening is petition number 24-P-1635 by Jake Kastner of 905 Stony Point Road, Dixon, Illinois, as owner of PIN number 07-02-34-300-17, 07-02-34-300-035, 07-02-34-300-018, and 07-02-34-300-022 in Dixon Township, Lee County, Illinois, which is zoned R2 Single Family Residential District, filed a petition for a map amendment with the Lee County Zoning Office to amend the zoning map from R2 Single Family Residential District to an Ag 1 Rural Agricultural District for the purpose of raising and keeping farm animals, more specifically chickens, on PIN numbers 07-02-34-300-22, commonly known as 905 Stony Point Road, Dixon, Illinois, and forestry conservation on PIN numbers 07-02-34-300-17, 07-02-34-300-035, and 07-02-34-300-018. Mr. Kastner. Can you please stand? Raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth?
I do.
Sign it. Print it.
State it.
While he's doing that, I'll kind of give you some background here. Mr. Kastner owns 4 parcels currently off of Stony Point Road. 2 of them have road frontage off of Stony Point. The other 2 would be considered landlocked. These parcels are currently zoned R2. Mr. Kastner has been performing forestry on these parcels. And in your exhibit list, under petitioners exhibit A, B, C, and D, these are the forestry management plan certifications for the 4 parcels, as well as the forest management plan for the 4 parcels as well. While our code does not specifically call out forestry as an ag use, the state statute does. And with regards to the chickens, this is for personal chickens, not a chicken farm, not 50,000 chickens. He's talking like a handful. I'll let him take over from here.
Now state your name to the board.
Jake Kastner.
Okay. So tell us what your plans are.
Plan is basically follow the forestry plan and just for conservation and growing trees for future timber sales.
Okay.
And the little homestead chicken thing for the kids, but just because that's against the R2 regulations, I guess.
Okay. All right.
So you're still zoned R2?
Yes.
But he wants to be zoned to ag and forestry.
Correct. As it is right now, he is in conflict with our code.
I was unaware of the code at one point and then started doing all the forestry and stuff like that.
So-
Realized it's kind of conflicting.
How long have you owned the property?
3 years. Well, then the last one I just bought, the 27 acres last year in December. And
So-
just put that forestry plan
So you've got trees in there that are valuable to sell.
Marketable, yes. There's lots of black walnut.
So, so what is he not, or what is he doing that's not a code?
So any type of ag use in a residentially zoned area would not be compatible with our code. So he's looking to downzone to the ag to be compatible with the current use of the property.
It's mainly the chickens. Does the forestry have anything to do with that, for the R2?
Yes,
That's all.
forestry is an agricultural use.
Just wanted to make sure.
So therefore, the property around him is ag.
Jonathan, are you able to pull up the zoning map?
Yeah.
This area is kind of a combined of R2 and Ag 1 properties. The yellow indicates R2, single family residential. The parcels that are going to have like a grayish tint to them are city zone parcels, and those are towards the west. The parcels without any color overlay are ag zone parcels. There is, as 3 of the parcels have borders that shares a property line with ag zone parcels, this would not be considered spot zoning. With regard to the 4th one, it would be considered spot zoning if, actually, no, I take that back, looking at the picture. All 4 parcels share a border with an ag zone parcel, eliminating the spot zoning concern.
How many acres you got there now?
I think it totals like 53. Two.
This parcel is located within 1.5 miles of the city of Dixon. Mr. Kastner had to appear before the Dixon City Council last month. They made a motion to object that was turned down, therefore resulting in a positive response to Jake's petition.
So to the left, your parcels, your house is on Long Stony Point?
That's where the actual mouse arrow is on. In my.
Here's,
Oh. Yeah,
it's a little difficult to decipher on the map and be able to point that out to you. So here are some photos.
so Rayner's is to the left of you, up there then?
There are 2 properties in between there, yes.
Parcels with the hash marks are the ones owned by Jake.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so you don't own these?
Correct, just.
So why are they all lit up?
Because they're all zoned R2,
Oh.
and this is the zoning map, so
Gotcha.
it'll
No
display
ag.
for all parcels.
So you said then everything that's green, yellow is all R2 then?
Yes,
So which parcel is chickens gonna go on?
his homestead parcel, which,
Is that narrow one?
yes.
Okay.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And you got R2 on both sides.
Unless I let them run to the coyotes.
That's what the next question was gonna be.
On both sides that way, but across the road, he does have the ag. That's where the ag
Yeah.
boundary shares.
Good.
There are restrictions related to this forestry program. He cannot just have any livestock on the property. It's very particular what he has to do to maintain the property. So it's designated to forestry. He can't really do much else with it other than maybe recreational use.
Technically, could the chickens run out there or they're worried about the chickens?
They do not want grazing animals, so I guess it's not a animal expert.
I don't think
Chicken
anybody's
is a
gonna,
grazer.
no.
Free range chickens.
Free range chickens.
Maybe. Yeah.
They're grazing.
No, they're just getting bugs.
And there is a lot of the power lines or easements from ComEd, obviously. You
Mm.
can see
That's-
them kind of cut.
That's what that opening is.
There's multiple here.
Okay.
The one's cleared out in that picture. but-
This is a photo from the assessment. It kind of does a better job of showing where those easements exist. So these blue area that you see, these are being assessed for the agricultural use. The front part of this parcel, 905 Stony Point, is being assessed for residential. These areas where the utilities exist, they're not being assessed for forestry, so they're not included. And with the addition of this parcel here in the bottom right corner, that will extend, so he will be taxed for the forestry land, but not the utility easements, I believe.
Good.
Such as forestry things are relatively new. Does somebody come in and tell you when your trees are ready to be harvested or how they work that?
Yes, they actually did come through and take some just recently, but then the forestry plan, I can either hire a consultant to tell me. I don't think there's gonna be a sale probably for 10 years or so at this point, but.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions? Or are we ready to do?
Are there any members of the public that have questions for Mr. Kastner?
Do what I did, get hearing aids.
So, can't hear, public can't hear, therefore we're.
I know.
I understand. It's just, I appreciate what you're saying. You guys sit there and talk. It's almost like a private meeting.
Right, I understand. Okay, so the questions that we have,
There we go.
You can sit down.
what's that?
You want to excuse him as a witness?
Oh,
You want to stay with us or?
Oh,
You want-
I'm sorry. I thought you were moving on to the next section. That was me.
oh,
The next what?
I thought you were moving on to your map amendment due process standards, so I apologize.
That's where I was kind of moving.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Unless we have any more questions and they don't have any more questions. If you want, you can go back here and sit.
Thank you.
Board of Appeals shall consider the following standards and make findings thereon when evaluating a map amendment. The first one is the existing uses of nearby property. The nearby property, although it's R2, is actually being used for agricultural property. Is that correct?
No, there's houses along there too.
There's some housing. Yes,
So you got ag and R2
right.
around the existing nearby properties.
Okay. So around the existing property is ag and R2 property,
Correct.
both. Do those need to be done as motions?
Please.
I'll make a motion that there is R2 and ag around the existing nearby property.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 2 is the extent property values will be diminished by any zoning restrictions.
I make a motion that the existing extent property values will not diminish by any zoning restrictions.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that the property values will not diminish. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 3. The extent to which the destruction of property values promotes the public health, safety, and welfare.
I move that to which the destruction of property values promotes the public health, safety, and welfare, we find none.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second that there will be no destruction of property values. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, the gain to the public versus the hardship to the individual property owner. I don't know that there will be any gain to the public
And no hardship.
or any hardship to the,
I'll make a motion. There's no gain to the public and there'll be no hardship to the property owner.
Second.
all right, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, the suitability of the subject property for zone purposes.
That means the new zone purposes interpreting.
Oh, we've been, for the forestry thing, yes, and the
Ag.
gain of the opportunity to raise chickens on an agricultural zoning.
What's the motion?
Suitability of property for zone purposes.
I move that moving the property from R2 to Ag 1 would suit the property for its zone purpose.
Yeah. We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The length of time the property has been vacant is zoned, considered in the context of land development in the vicinity of the subject property.
Property hasn't not been vacant.
Well, the land is.
The land has on those
Wow.
3 parcels. Been there a long time.
It has. I mean, this will slow down any expansion to that direction for future development. I'll put that in a motion that it will slow down future expansion to that direction by changing it to ag.
Do we have a second to that?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
I,
All opposed? Motion carries. The compatibility of the present and proposed classifications with the comprehensive plan.
which is that? Map.
I was just gonna say, where's the map?
I move that the rezoning is compatible to the present and proposed classification of the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
I,
All opposed? Motion carries. Whether there is a public need in the neighborhood for the proposed use.
I move that there is a need in the neighborhood for the proposed use, conservation being that use.
Conservation on doing your forestry project?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
I,
All opposed? Motion carries. Oh, now we're gonna get serious here. The next thing is the recommendation to the county board to approve or deny.
I move we approve this petition.
Second.
You have a second? We'll call the roll. Bruce? Aye.
Craig. Aye.
Luke, aye.
Tim, I.
Because it says how many ayes?
Okay.
Huh?
She gets paid.
Motion has been asked by this board. We'll go on to the county board on the.
And we want to know how many chickens you got next year, how the coyotes did.
Okay.
Sorry.
Is she on this deal on this?
What's that? She abandoned us for the
Get one
moment.
that's around 6 months a year, or whatever.
Yep.
I got a smart one.
Are you ready?
The year.
Okay. Are you gonna stay and be an audience?
They say what they do is one day we'll kind of play with them. and not bring the rest of them. We're gonna kill them, so.
Now. Who's going to be first petition?
Whatever you want.
Ladies first.
Or
They can both be sworn in at the same time.
do I only have one case left?
No, there's,
Is there more? Okay.
I don't know what I did. before.
you had us.
Okay. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth. Yeah. Okay. Find them, print your name. You're gonna have to share a microphone.
So while these two petitions do involve the same parcel, we need to make sure we do what is
One-
required.
One petition at a time. So we'll start out with new business. Petition number 24-P-1636 by Kevin J. and Shelley L. Rod as owners of a certain real property identified as PIN number 05-17-05-100-007 and commonly known as 2506 Shaw Road, West Brooklyn, Illinois, in Brooklyn Township. Lee County, Illinois filed a petition for special use with the Lee County office requesting a special use permit for the purpose of farm product processing, packaging, and distribution farmers market. Parcel is currently zoned Ag 1 Rural Agricultural District and is 4.15 acres in size.
I did provide you with a exhibit list. There includes a copy of the petition for special use. I do not have a certificate of publication yet, but it was published. I did include a copy of what was published in the paper. And the third exhibit is an article from Small Town Living talking about Mrs. Rod's goats.
So
You're famous.
Just for 15 minutes, yeah.
15 minutes of fame.
okay. Tell us about your project and move that over.
Oh, there you go.
Now you have one.
I have a small herd of dairy goats and I've had people request for me to start making soap, and I had been making lotion for myself and kind of branching out, and it's kind of blown up a little bit. So we thought maybe it'd be nice to take the next step and sell it at a storefront and have a place where I can get it out of my kitchen, because right now I have clutter everywhere with all the bottles and the oils and the stuff that I'm using. And I don't know.
Okay.
I guess we're wanting to have a little farmer's market, kind of like Pfeiffer's, for people to come and stop and shop local. We'll have other products in there, like one of the neighbors has raw honey, and just sell other local people's goods to help kind of boost everyone's little businesses.
Good.
Have you got any idea how many people go on that road to like the campgrounds every?
Yeah, they said average of 650 cars a day go by, and that's probably fairly accurate. My parents live right across the street. A lot of camping traffic, so that's where we're hoping to. A lot of the people from the city really like the natural products. I've done some farmers markets, and it's the city people that just come and literally eat it up. So
Okay.
Now, did you get the goats? Did the kids need the milk, or did you just got the goats?
I have lactose issues, so I was wanting dairy goats for a long time.
His neighbor had that 50 years ago. But this thing, so I was kind of familiar with it.
Good.
There is a picture of the property pulled up on the map. As you can see, there are existing structures on this property. Mrs. Rad is proposing to use the front building. And Mr. Rod, for the second petition, would be the further back. This parcel used to be Twin Creeks Tire and Service Center. They operated in an ag district, even though that was not in compliance with the code. That business shut down a couple of years ago. So they are looking to revive that spot.
So that whole parcel clear to the back is a parcel. Because the township used to have some stuff sitting on the west side.
Yeah.
I think they were just allowed to sit there
Yeah.
Okay.
because Jerry Swope was on the township as he road commissioner.
Good.
Where do you guys live from here?
About 2 miles.
2-3 miles southwest or
Kind of around-
southwest, Westbrook.
On Shaw Road, or
We're on-
Richards.
yeah.
you're on Richardson? How long have you had the property?
Last week.
Last week. Wow. Waste no time, right?
No, gotta start making money.
Is all the equipment out of the, tire equipment out of the shop there?
Good. We're not worried about the tires.
I know, I'm
Well,
just,
except for the
worried about-
lift, there's still a
he's
lift.
gonna have,
so.
oh, that's right, we're doing
We're doing,
soap, I forgot.
yeah, we're
Well-
doing the farmer's market at the moment.
Okay.
Kevin changes enough tires of the other.
So,
I have no,
what's that?
I have no.
Do you have any further questions?
Like making the soaps and stuff, you gotta boil and cook stuff, or how do you do that?
You just melt down the oils and heat up the milk. You have to, well, not for the soap, the lotion, you have to pasteurize it.
Is there a kitchen in that building or?
There is. So my plan is to utilize that. And it's set apart from the shop, like it's set apart in the back.
Okay,
You got any more questions?
I'm done.
You got any questions? You got any questions? Are you sure?
I do,
Now that you can hear.
Okay,
I want these people, if you want.
okay. Everybody's okay now? All right. So if you want to just sit here, not like other people who said, no, they didn't want to sit here while we do the findings of fact, we'll do the findings of fact. The first one is the effect of the proposed use upon the character of the neighborhood.
I move that. I move that the proposed use upon the character of the neighborhood would improve it.
Okay? Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a second. So is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Any other effect on the proposed use upon the character of the neighborhood?
The other building is a commercial building just right across too, even though it's probably not zoned, Swope's shop, the red one.
Personal shop.
Yeah, so it's a second shop, industrial, commercial thing in that area really. But I don't think he's zoned for that.
We're not talking about that.
I know,
We're only talking
no,
about-
but we're talking about
we're only
commercial
talking about
buildings.
the front
I
building.
know, it's not residential area.
Okay. The effect on the proposed use of the traffic conditions, that's the second one.
Well, if they do well, it will improve the traffic.
That area is, got good visibility around there, and then the driveway was wide enough for semis and everything, so it's in good shape for traffic.
And you got a stop sign right there.
Yeah.
So it's not like everybody's going 55 mile an hour, all not supposed to be.
No, sometimes people blow it, but
Mm-hmm.
it'd be nice if there was a little bit of a warning sometimes for the city people. It's an intersection we kind of worried about a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are rumble strips.
Is that rumble? I could put a flashing light 100 feet before it, or a couple hundred feet before it. as a
So-
warning.
I move that there's no significant changes based on this proposal to traffic conditions in that area.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, effect of the proposed use upon the public utility facilities.
There's no, what do you got for public utilities there? So electrical, private well and septic?
Yep.
I make a motion, no effect on the public utility facilities.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
Is that well and septic separate from the house? Did they put a separate one in for the?
From the
No.
house to the east of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all set.
Okay.
Do you have a house with this property?
No,
Oh.
We did not buy the house. That,
they sold
So
that
you have your
off.
own well and septic on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Um, There's no more discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Number 4 is the effect of the proposed use upon the public health, public safety, and or general welfare.
And your soaps are gonna help people's health and the milk
I think,
and the honey?
I think the goat,
the goat soap has helped a lot of people with eczema. And
right?
that's all natural
really?
ingredients.
Yeah,
so.
there you go. There you go, Craig.
But legally, I can't sell the milk because.
Not
that's a whole
pasteurized.
nother-
That's a whole nother issue.
Whole nother world there, right? I'll make the motion that there be no effect on the public safety and general welfare to the public.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The next one is the effects of the proposed use on the surrounding properties. Since there used to be a
Yeah,
tire company there, I don't think the effect of this use is going to have much effect.
yeah, since it was basically a commercial area.
Negative wise, you mean?
Yeah,
True.
but somebody's got to make a motion, not me.
Since there previously was business there, it's similar situation again.
What's that?
Since there was previously a business there, it's a similar situation. You're gonna move that.
I move no effects of the proposed use upon the surrounding properties.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. The last one is the effects of the proposed use upon environmental concerns. You're niching all natural products, so there should not be any environmental.
Are the
concerns.
goats gonna be there?
On occasion, we're gonna maybe have a little petting zoo. And bring them in, but they won't be living there. They would just be there for the day.
Okay.
I would not be like comfortable leaving them overnight. Oh, they would only be there for the day for like a petting zoo here and there,
Okay.
just to help draw traffic.
So are we got any environmental concerns? Would somebody make a motion?
You're not seeing environmental concerns since there is a well and septic to handle anything there.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we need a recommendation to the full board to approve or deny the motion or the petition.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
And this is a special use permit, so do we need to put any conditions on it? We can start out with approval or non-approval. And then if somebody wants to add a condition, we can add a condition.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve this to the county board.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the petition. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Does anybody want to put any conditions on the special use? No? No?
Is there gonna be hours of operation or anything like that?
Yes, they'll be just over the weekends, pretty much Thursdays through Sundays, maybe possibly Mondays, like the holiday
Holiday.
weekends. And not full day, like some of the days will just be half days.
Are you putting any conditions in?
I don't know if that has to be on.
Okay. We're not gonna put any conditions on? All right. Your petition has been won by this board and will go before the full county board on the 20th.
Do we have to be here for that or no?
You are welcome to attend. You will not be given an opportunity to speak before the vote, but you are welcome to attend if you want to be there for the vote.
So let me find my paperwork. Where did I lose my? There it is. Your turn. Next is petition number 24-P-1637 by Kevin J. and Shelley L. Rod as owner of certain real property identified as PIN number 05-17-05-100-0007. And commonly known as 2506 Shaw Road, West Brooklyn, Illinois. Brooklyn Township, Lee County, Illinois, filed a petition for a special use with the Lee County Zoning Office requesting a special use permit for the purpose of construction and farm equipment, machinery sales and service. The parcel is currently zoned as Ag 1 Rural Agricultural District and is 4.15 acres in size. Tell us what you want to do.
Just be able to use the shop there to work on different people's ag equipment or heavy equipment. That's what I do now. I work at the Johnson Tractor in Amboy. Just like to be able to do a little bit there on the side if I need to.
Okay.
Mostly be my own stuff and some other people's probably, but.
Yeah. Got any questions?
What's the size of that shop?
I don't know the exact size, roughly 50 by 80, somewhere in there.
So the special use is to be able to do it for hire then.
Yes.
So this might be weekends working.
Yeah.
She's all right.
Any other questions? Luke? You have any questions? You have any questions? Okay. Back there. So, should we move on to the findings of fact?
Yes.
Okay, findings of fact, effect of the proposed use upon the character of the neighborhood.
I move there would be no change upon the character of the neighborhood.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, no change to the character of the neighborhood. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Effect of the proposed use upon traffic conditions.
Based on testimony, doesn't appear there's going to be very much activity as far as people
Traffic,
coming and going and things like that.
okay. Do we have a second to that?
I'll
Oh.
second it.
Uh,
Either one.
So based on testimony, there will be not much change to the traffic conditions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 3, effect of the proposed use upon public utility facilities.
I don't see any effect on the public utility facilities.
Okay. Is that a form of a motion?
It is.
Do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Number 4, effect of the proposed use upon public health, public safety, and/or general welfare.
I move there would be no change to public health, safety, or general welfare.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Craig seconds. Any discussion? No. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, effects of proposed use upon the surrounding properties.
I make a motion there'll be no effect upon, for the proposed use upon the surrounding properties.
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second on no effects of the proposed property on the surrounding properties. Proposed use upon the surrounding properties. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, effects of proposed use upon environmental concerns.
I see no effect.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second that there will be no effect on proposed use upon environmental concerns. Any further discussion?
Kevin's got a background in dealing with these things already, so he knows what you need to do with the oils and everything else, how to properly
What you
handle
do with
that.
the oil, what you do with all the other stuff, yes. Okay,
And the property is currently set up for that
right,
very situation.
True.
all right. So we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next, recommendation to the full board.
I move we approve this petition. Oh, I move we approve this petition.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve this motion and recommend it to the full county board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Do we want to put any conditions on this one? The special use also.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank
Need
you.
it.
Doesn't sound like you guys want any free time.
Already, so.
Now you can get nervous.
Oh, I got nervous last week when we signed our life away.
Okay. Anyway.
You'll do good.
Your petition will also go to the county board on the 20th. And now we need to pause our meeting until after the county board meeting,
Recess.
recess until the next zoning board meeting, which is March 6th.
I move that we recess this evening until next board meeting, March 6th.
I second that motion.
You what?
I second that motion.
You seconds that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. We're done.
All right, all ready.
I made it within the time limit. Look at that.
She's done, so now we can talk freely.